Sometimes, in an uncanny way, real life meets real life, almost blurring the lines between the two. That seems to be the case for the Israeli stars of the popular television and web series Fauda, a spy thriller that's also a slice of life, with the Israel-Palestine conflict being at the heart of the story. Two of the leading Fauda actors have in fact joined the Israeli military's reserve duty as the war against Hamas escalates, following last week's horrific and unprecedented terror attacks on Israeli soil. Earlier today, I spoke to Fauda Star Rona-Lee Shimon, who plays a spy called Nurit, the only woman serving in the Israeli counter-terrorism unit on the show. In this emotional conversation, Shimon describes in graphic and blood-curdling detail the brutality and barbarism that Hamas terrorists displayed as they butchered, tortured, maimed, raped and even decapitated Israelis, including little babies, terming the Hamas attacks as the worst assault on Jews since the Holocaust. Rona-Lee Shimon says Israel will do whatever it takes to win this war as it's fighting for its survival. She also had a special message for India. Listen in to this exclusive interview. Joining me now on News9 Live is a very special guest from Israel. I am joined by Rona-Lee Shimon. She is a famous Israeli actor and the star of the very popular television and web series Fauda, which is, of course, a slice of life and deals with the Israel-Palestine conflict. Rona-Lee is the female protagonist in the spy thriller. She plays a spy called Nurit, the only woman in the Israeli counter-terrorism unit on that particular show. Rona-Lee Shimon, thank you so much for speaking to us here on News9 Live.
Thank you. Thank you for your support and for covering our side of the story. Thank you.
We are doing our best to take your voices not just to people in India, but even abroad. I can assure you that. Firstly, my heartfelt condolences over the horrible loss of lives that your country has suffered. The tragedy is unspeakable. We've all been shocked and horrified by what we've seen. You've spoken about these Hamas attacks very passionately. You also posted a video on Instagram, which is very moving. So let me begin by asking you, what are your thoughts on what has happened?
My thoughts vary from heavy grief and from deep quest to understand how something like this could have happened in 2023 in such a unity of the world and where the free world is controlling all over the world, and how is this still possible to even be imagined, and more so to be executed in the most vile, monstrous way. We hear from the world that it's fake. People don't believe that what we have shown to the press and through the media is true. And I have to say, with all honesty, I understand, because I think if anyone in their right mind would truly understand and comprehend, that means that we have to admit that some part of us is already gone. And that is, I think, the true tragedy of what has happened.
You're quite right. This is something that really has shamed humanity, Ronali. I can tell you that. It's not just the people of Israel, though you are the ones who've suffered this, but I can tell you each one of us around the world has watched this in shock, horror, and with utter disbelief. Now, what makes these attacks particularly horrific is not just the scale on which they were carried out, but as you mentioned, the barbarity and the brutality that was displayed by these Hamas terrorists, butchering women, children, babies, the elderly, beheading babies, torturing people, burning some of them alive, raping and parading women. It's just shocked our conscience. What does one even say about this kind of barbarity? Of course, there are many who are saying they've left ISIS and Al Qaeda behind.
You know, what can we say? What any human alive can say about what our eyes have seen these past 9 days? There is no words in any language that can describe the way that we feel, the way the horror that we have witnessed. And you know, the sad part is it hasn't even started yet. The testimonies are still bringing in from the people who survived the atrocities, who have seen with their bare eyes how their friends were massacred, butchered, alive, burned alive. This is evil at its finest hour. And I'm saying this with the utmost sorrow because I think there has never been a bigger alarm to humanity outside of the Holocaust. The fact that this has happened and there are still people who are not believing that it's happening should be very alarming.
You know, many, including the Israeli Prime Minister, has said what you just said, that this is the worst attack that the Jews have suffered since the Holocaust. Many have compared it to 9/11. And then I have spoken to some Israelis who say this is actually so much worse than 9/11, given the scale and again the manner in which these attacks were carried out, the brutality, the barbarism, and the scars that it has left behind for perhaps generations of Israelis.
I I agree because I think the world, I don't know if the world has yet understood the exact details of what happened. These are people who crossed the borders with booklets of instructions exactly what to do to women, what to do to children, the beheading of heads, the cruel act of rapes in all its forms, the burning of people alive, the the intention brutality that was demonstrated on October 7th is something that the human mind has yet to comprehend, and we are all in such deep trauma because I think not only did we underestimate the brutality of religious extremist people such as Hamas, which now proved that they are ISIS, but also we belittled the brutality of humankind, because what was done to us, it's not war. You can't call this war. You can't call thousands of cowardly people sneaking into people's homes at 6 o'clock in the morning, grabbing babies from their beds, making their mothers see the beheading of their babies, raping women in the most cruel way that we've ever seen, ever. And not only that, but also parading that and filming all of that and putting it live on Facebook, on Instagram is I think it's a game changer as far as how dark this just got. And that's why I think it should alarm not just the people of Israel. I think it should alarm every human being in their right mind all over the world.
I think there is no doubt about that. And anybody Anybody who comes up with even a remote justification of this barbarism needs to hang their head in shame. There can be no justification for this kind of barbarism. And like you said, people have actually come up with conspiracy theories, raised questions about whether those babies were actually beheaded. There's been a debate around it. Beats me too.
You know what the thing is that these videos are so damaging for a human soul that we in Israel keep debating if we should share this to the world as evidence or prevent that. I want to tell you that it took Biden, and I know this because I know people who were with him when they briefed him with everything that happened. It took very little time for him to understand the atrocities. And it took him even shorter time to say, I am behind you no matter what. And it is shocking. And, you know, I have to say, Jewish people have suffered in the Holocaust. It hasn't even been 100 years, and people are denying. There are many, many people who deny the Holocaust ever happened. And I say this with so much sorrow. But the fact that Hamas has filmed um, everything that they have done, this will stay forever online, forever. No one will ever be able to say that this didn't happen to us. It happened. The world will wake up when the world gets out of the shock of what happened, and they will see. And then, you know, it takes stages because the human mind cannot really comprehend what happened. I understand, it's true, our whole country is still in shock and we're grieving, and all of us know someone who was either kidnapped, murdered, beheaded. We're a small country, you know, we know everybody. And with this pain that unites us, this is how we are going to prevail, because our strength is in our unity, and we are going to win this war. This is war about our existence, and we don't have any other choice but win.
You think this is about your existence. There is no doubt that Israel is united as it needs to be in this difficult hour. You know, you were talking about how Hamas has put out so many videos recording their own barbarity, which is there for the world to see. And I must admit that even though I've been a journalist for so many years, it was difficult for me to watch those videos. I looked away. Every time I saw somebody being burned alive, I had to look away. But you know, talking about the nightmare, as you mentioned, Ronali, it is far from over. Yes, you're a grieving nation. You know, it's been 10 days. The death count keeps going up. It's crossed 1,300. And the primary reason why the nightmare is far from over is because there are hostages that Hamas is holding in Gaza. I beg your pardon. Just today, the Israeli military has put out a figure. All these days, we were wondering whether they were 100 or 150. Today, the Israeli military has put out an official figure. I can tell you, they've said that 199 hostages are being held by the Hamas terrorists in Gaza right now. Most of them are Israelis. Some of them are foreigners too. How concerned are you about the safety of these hostages? Because we know that Hamas terrorists use their own people as human shields, and chances are they could be using these hostages as human shields as the Israeli airstrikes continue. How worried are you?
We are all worried because these are our children. This is all of our children. Um, and we are frightened for their peace. Um, and I really strongly suggest Hamas to get a grip and to at least at least keep them alive and safe and well in order to help them come home. I think this should now be an international effort from all the countries in the world to do everything in their power to bring the hostages back. This is the most important thing for everybody, for all of Israel. And with that, you need to understand the hostages are from 36 countries around the world. That means that the whole world should stand with Israel in the mission to bring the hostages back. That is the first thing that needs to happen. And I promise you that we will prevail and we will win this war.
You know, since we're talking about hostages, I interviewed the families of a few hostages a couple of days ago, Rona-Lee, and it was one of the most difficult interviews that I have done. Very hard to see those mothers weeping and begging for their children's lives, pleading with Hamas, but those are beasts. They don't know humanity. But you know, one of the mothers um, said this, and I want to ask you this. I spoke to the mother of 13-year-old Noya, who's been taken hostage. Noya has autism. She's a child with special needs. Her mother, Dalit Dan, told me that Israel should drop everything and bring the hostages back first, even if it means stopping the bombings and the airstrikes. Now, this is an emotional mother talking, somebody who's very worried for her child. What would you say to that mother?
Look, at the end of the day, I'm not a politician and I don't have the right answers because there's a reason why very specific people are handling these kind of situations, because it's almost a lose-lose situation, right? Everybody loses when we come so far in the direction of war, of extreme war. I have to say that with that, I know for sure that the IDF is doing everything in their power to protect citizens, to call them before we bomb any place. We tell them exactly where we're going to bomb. We are bombing headquarters of Hamas. We are bombing headquarters of places that we know where they're launching their missiles from. Problem is that they are located in civilian population, in hospitals, in kindergartens, in school. This makes our fight very, very difficult. And with that, we are doing everything a human should do in order to save as much lives as possible in this bloodshedded war.
That's what we are hoping and praying for. You know, now I have to ask you this. You know, I am a fan of Fauda, as are scores and scores of people across India. And I wish I could tell you this under better circumstances. So I have to talk about that. You've played a spy in Fauda, somebody who's a part of Israel's counter-terrorism unit that deals with terrorists like the Hamas terrorists that we are talking about today. This is not their first attack, but it's their biggest and worst attack on Israel. Does it feel surreal to you as an actor that real life has met real life?
It feels surreal to me as a human being, not even as an actress.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone in their right mind could have scripted this.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone could. I don't think anyone can write a scene where someone from Hamas would cut open a pregnant belly of a woman, taking her fetus out of her body, burn it alive, and then burn the mother. I don't think there's anyone in the world that could think that was possible to do. So in that sense, it's nothing like Fauda. It's just, this is real life. At the end of the day, Fauda is a TV show. We are actors. We are making art in order to change people's minds and tell stories. But this horror story is happening right now, especially to the families who've lost their loved ones and to the hostages who are waiting to be rescued by us and by the world.
You're quite right. Nobody could have written this script. It is so much worse than perhaps anything we've ever seen on television or in the movies, which is why it must be so surreal. You know, you've played a spy on TV, on screen, somebody who takes on the bad guys, the terrorists, but seeing what these monsters have done to your country, to your own people, I guess you're quite right. The actor in you must be saying, I could never have come across a script like this.
Never. And you're right. We are in a point of history where it is good against evil. And only history will time will go by and history will say whoever was on the side of the good guys and whoever wasn't. And we will never forget.
We will never forget. Again, you said Fauda is nothing like this. But do you see any parallels, any similarities between what you've done as an actor as part of Fauda and what has happened in real life? I know this is far, far more horrific, but do you see any parallels, any similarities?
You know, I find it very, very difficult to think about everything I've ever done in my life at these horrible days. We're just trying to survive this. We're just trying to make the families stronger, the people who survived stronger, and to get ready for the big war that is ahead of us. And we are concentrated on winning. And so everything that I've done is not relevant for me personally. I am focused on this to tell our stories to the world and to win the war.
I completely understand that. It's also remarkable to see how so many Israelis have come together at this time. 400,000 reservists have been called up by the Prime Minister. Many public figures, it's quite remarkable, many public figures have joined active duty, including former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett. Also, these include, correct me if I'm wrong, your Fauda co-stars, Lior Raz and Zachi Halevi. Are you in touch with them? Have they spoken to you about joining reserve duty? We saw pictures of Lior, in fact, who was involved in rescue operations a few days ago.
Idan Amedi is in reserves right now. Everybody's doing whatever we can to support the mission. And we are here, the people of my country know, because that's what everybody does every second of every day. And our strength as a nation is in our unity. And we have never been more united. That's why we know we're going to win. And we're willing to do whatever it takes in order for that to happen.
Willing to do whatever it takes. Have you by any chance had a word with your colleagues, your co-stars about this?
About what?
About what's happened and them joining reserve duty? Have they spoken to you at all about it?
They already have. Some of them, Idan, were just texting, and we have a group chat about whatever we can do. We go to talk to the people who survived from the Kfar Aza, and we talk to them, and we're trying to relieve their sadness, and we're packing food and supplies for the army, and we're doing hasbara, and we're doing whatever the country needs of us, whether it's going to the army, whether it's helping to support the army from the outskirts of it, and rebuilding everything that needs to be rebuilt, which is going to take a long time.
It will take a long time, and it is heartening to see the Fauda family coming together and, in a sense, serving the country in every way that they can in real life, and not just in real life, not just on screen. Many have said you are uh, of real heroes. When they saw pictures of Lior rescuing some of those people who were either being held hostage or were trapped, they said he is a real life hero. I think that's how a lot of people around the world feel about all of you. Um,
But I have to
Go
say,
ahead.
it's not just Fauda. The real heroes are soldiers. The real heroes are the people who, with everything they had, just took their personal cars and went into the inside the massacre to pull innocent people out of the shelters before the army even got there. It was a country effort, and everybody are heroes. Everybody's doing, and it's not even being a hero, it's just being a human, I have to say. Yeah.
You're quite right about that. Ronali, would you be able to give us a sense of what the current situation is like in Israel? I know you said we are a country in shock. We, it'll take a long time, obviously, for you to recover from what's happened. But while there are scores and scores of people who are still mourning their dead, there are families who are anxiously waiting for their loved ones to return home safely from captivity. Can you tell us, our viewers watching in India and outside, what is it like to be an Israeli today? Can you describe that for us?
I think that is a very complex question because we, first of all, we are loyal to what needs to be done in Israel. So our first efforts all the time is to be with what needs to be done here. So we have groups of people who are supporting and trying to get even money, trying to get resources, trying to get world support in order to bring the hostages back. And on the military side, there is, us get, our generals are trying to figure out how to attack and how to annihilate Hamas for once and for all. That's where we're at.
Yes, the prime minister, the defense minister, they have all said that we're going to wipe Hamas off the face of the earth. You've talked about how the world needs to come together and stand with Israel at this time. There are hostages from 36 countries. Ronali, what do you, as an Israeli, want and expect from the international community today?
I expect the international community to first understand that these were crime against humanity, not just us. We're not alone. The fact that the world can say, yes, but what about, this needs to stop immediately. We need to come together with the pain of what had happened, with the atrocities of what had happened as humankind. This is, if we're gonna let this slide, we are doomed. If this brutality were ever to happen again, we are doomed. And I expect the world community to stand by us at any given moment until we get our hostages back. That's what I expect.
I also want to mention to you that Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has expressed full solidarity with the people of Israel. He said that publicly. He said that to your Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Of course, I mentioned to you that your show Fauda is very popular in India. All of you are much loved here. What would you want to say today to the people in India who are watching you?
I want to say, first of all, I've been in India 5 times. That is one of the most places that are most dear to my heart. Um, I love the Indian people. I love their generosity of spirit, their good heart, and nothing fills me more gratitude than to know that you guys are by our side. And that is the most important thing that you can do for us.
I completely understand. And like I said, The people of India have said so. The Prime Minister of India has said so. We are definitely with Israel in this difficult hour. I'm sure you're aware. India as a country has been a victim of multiple terror attacks. We had our own 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks, which were likened to 9/11, and now you have your 7th October. We do understand the pain of terrorism and what it does to people, how it wipes out lives. I also want to ask you, this war is escalating. Many expect that there will be a ground invasion by Israeli troops of Gaza soon. Do you have any thoughts on how this war can end? Because people are suffering on both sides.
I think the first thing that needs to happen in order for us to even get closer to a peace agreement anytime soon, that Hamas needs to be wiped out from the face of the earth. That's what I think.
Right. And finally, as we wrap up this conversation, I know it's not easy to talk about this, but I appreciate you opening up to us so much. As we wrap up this conversation, as an Israeli who feels very strongly about what's happened, your message to the world today.
Let's be on the good side of history. Be on the good side of history.
That's well put. That is well put. And yes, history will judge us by how we reacted to this horror. And like you said, it should never happen again. It should never happen again to Israel. It should never happen again to anyone on this planet. And for that, we all need to come together. Rona-Lee Shimon, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I know it was not easy for you to talk about this. I can see how emotional you get talking about the suffering of the Israeli people, but you're brave because you are fighting for your country in your own capacity in whichever way you can. And I hope and pray, as do the rest of Indians, that this is over very soon and that all of you are able to heal. Our thoughts and prayers are with the people of Israel. I can tell you that.
Thank you so much. And again, thank you so much for our good friends India and Indian people, and we are very grateful for your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. And yes, we will continue to watch Fauda as well. We absolutely love your show. Thank you. Thank you so much. You take care.